The Frugal Wizard's Guide for Surviving. No, wait, no. The Frugal Wiz. The Frugal Wiz. Frugal? The Frugal Wizard. What? The Frugal Wiz. The Frugal. The Frugal Wizard. The Frugal Wizard. Mother Nature. Secret Project number 2 by Brandon Sanderson came out on the 1st of April 2023 for the backers of the Kickstarter under one of the most unpronounceable titles my Eastern European brain has ever encountered. And today we will do an unboxing of the hardback and a spoiler-free review of the book itself. And before we begin, I know that the glare from the glasses might be distracting and annoying to some people, but you need to understand that I am basically incapable of seeing without these glasses, so I hope you will be understanding and forgiving for this indiscretion. No more intro, let's go into the unboxing. Ta-da! So as you can see, there are several things in here, beginning with this spoiler card that I will show to you right now. If you don't want to be spoiled for what's next, don't look. So we're gonna begin with the pin, and now every single quarterly box in which you receive one of the secret projects comes with the Cosmere character pin, and in the first box, which contained Tress of the Emerald Sea, we had Vin, which was gorgeous and very, very cute, and in this one we have Vasher. This is probably a better way of showing him to you. He is also gorgeous, very, very cute, with Nightblood keeping him company in this picture. Vasher has always been one of my favorite characters in the Cosmere. I loved seeing him in Warbreaker and in another book from the Cosmere, which I will not mention right now, even though he did have a different name in that book. 2 hours later, sadly, my cat has taken the opportunity to drown him in her fountain. Rest in peace. The next thing we have in the box is this bookmark, which I am assuming is, yes, it is definitely themed after the book. It is one of the characters in the book in one particular moment. It is very nice, light reflecting bookmark, and it's exactly the same on the other side of it. It is pretty cool. We have the same style of bookmark for Tress that I very, very much liked, and I haven't used yet. I usually just keep these within the book that they came with. The next thing we have here is super, super cute, and that is a Frugal Wizard sticker, basically, with the same little character that you will see throughout the book, and I will show you later. It's just very, very cute, and I absolutely adore it. This is Marvin, and he's a druid, and apparently he is not for sale. At least that's what the spoiler card says about him. And the last thing remaining is the book itself, which, let me tell you, is really, really gorgeous. And I believe it's a larger size than Tress was. Am I imagining this? We'll check this later. Now let's open it. It is sealed here. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh my god, look at these colors. I don't know if the camera does them justice, but believe you me, this is such a beautiful, brilliant blue, and it's leather. I don't know if it's real leather or faux leather. I cannot determine that. We have this gorgeous title and this beautiful script with a little bit of foiling, the name of the author. And just as in Tress, we have these little reflective surfaces in different colors, with the white and the black and the silver also being reflective, and the light blue, I think. Oh, phenomenal. Now here on the back of the book you have this quote from within a certain part of the book itself, also printed in a gorgeous way with foiling and this beautiful design. I think it's a planetary design, and it's very relevant for what the book is about, which I will talk about a little bit later without wanting to spoil too much. And look at the spine. Oh my god. It's gorgeous. I really love it. Just as with Tress, we get this high quality feel to the book. I mean, look at these end pages. So beautiful. These end pages carry some of the characters that we follow throughout the book, or at least models of these characters, which is really nice. Oh, look at this title page. Tell me that's not super gorgeous. I just love it. Absolutely love it. We have another lovely title page. Every single part of this book is so well crafted, like with the little page number art here. One thing you're gonna notice about this book is the definite high quality of the paper from which it is crafted, but also these beautiful chapter headers. They are all different for every single chapter. They differ slightly basically, but they are gorgeous. And here, for some of the pages, you're gonna see some art here in the margins that is really lovely. We have some more here, which is the very next page actually. Another chapter header. We have some full-scale illustrations as well with full color and everything. They are on more reflective paper surface and again from very high quality that are just lovely. I want you to see this thing. Now, throughout the book, there are snippets from a booklet that is within the world. The character finds it and is being guided by it to an extent, and we get some art from it. Like, look at this thing. Tell me this is not amazing. Now, because this book within the story is kind of blown up, and don't worry, this is in the very beginning, you find that out in the very beginning, it's not a spoiler. Look how they did it to kind of match what happened within the story. Really cool. More margin art, more snippets from the booklet. I love this. I love the full color illustrations, but I also very much enjoy the black and white with blue accent illustrations as well. I find them super gorgeous. There's so much in this book. I have no words. And the back end pages. Really, this is a very high quality book. It has a feel of quality and of high value. And look how nice they look next to each other. Ah. Really good. I do like this blue better than this green though. I think it's because it's a little bit more brilliant. Anyway, this book is super pretty. Now let's move on to the review. The Frugal Wizard is a standalone adult sci fantasy about a man who wakes up in a field having lost all his memories and having nothing to rely on but a small half-blown up booklet to help him figure out who he is and where he is. Our protagonist, who can't even remember his own name, pretty soon starts to figure out that there is something strange about this world that he woke up in and goes to investigate. In the process, he starts to discover some of his own abilities and to build a picture of himself for all of us. This book has a very lighthearted tone, which especially in the beginning gives the impression of a story for a much younger audience. I believe in my Goodreads review I kind of qualified it as sci fantasy for childish adults. I could obviously go and check that out, but that's more effort than I'm prepared to make. However, the more you read through the story, the more adult themes you will begin to discover, and I think herein lies the main qualifier as to whether you will like this book or not. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so put a pin in this and we'll go back to it later. If I had to outline the most prominent characteristics of this book to help you get oriented within the atmosphere, I will have to mention the spirit of adventure and discovery mixed with a particular flavor of North European folklore, a somewhat medieval setting, and some very light multidimensional sci-fi. And if that sounds confusing, well, it's because it kind of was. Before I picked this book up, I had made sure to stay away from the synopsis and from any kind of possible spoilers, and this is one of the few times in my life where I had actually regretted this decision. Because let me tell you, for the first 30% of this book, I had absolutely no idea what in the Renaissance fair I was reading. It's not that it was difficult to follow the narrative, but I was rather unable to set any sort of expectations. And you might think that that's a good thing, but let me tell you, it's so very not. Every time you pick up a book, you expect something from this story, and then you might have your expectations subverted. The story might go in different directions, but you still have to be able to expect something from a story. It's like picking up a piece of food and not knowing whether to expect sweet or savory, which for some reason I find to be a very uncomfortable experience. I don't know if you have that. After the 30 to 35% of the book, I started to get my bearings and the book became way more interesting to me. Pause. I'm not 100% sure what bearings are and how I'm supposed to get them, but I'm almost 100% sure that I'm using this phrase correctly. Still, I have to say that for the first time in a Brandon Sanderson's book, I don't really care much for the world building. And that is because there was very little that was actually fleshed up about it. There was plenty of information about the aspect related to the aforementioned handbook, but the rest, which concerned the quirks of the world that our character was actually exploring, was very shallow. There was a lot said about some rather important elements, but kind of only in passing. And to contrast that, there were some elements that were set up to be important and central, meaning they were mentioned multiple times, yet ended up going nowhere or receiving only a rudimentary explanation, which led to the world building feeling incomplete and, as I already mentioned, shallow. And this shallowness, is that a word? And this lack of depth doesn't just apply to world building but persists throughout plot and character work, more specifically when it comes to the supporting cast and especially the villain. I was very disappointed in this particular aspect because though I liked the idea of who the villain was supposed to be, what we saw on page was more of a shadow of their potential. Now allow me to contradict myself a bit, because even though I just complained that I didn't like the character work, I'm gonna flip 180 degrees and say that I really liked the main character and how his character was built. I just felt him to be so real and I couldn't help but empathize. And that being said, I am not sure that he will appeal to everyone. And here, let's go back to that pin that we put into that thing earlier. However, the more you read through the story, the more adult themes you will begin to discover, and I think herein lies the main qualifier as to whether you will like this book or not. I sincerely believe that if we leave aside the fantastical and the scientific, which is only a very small part of what makes a good story anyway, what will decide for you whether you ultimately like this book or feel indifferent to it is where you are in life and what experiences you've gone through. There are certain things that are unveiled about our protagonist's past and discussed in this book that if you can't relate to, might and likely will seem low stakes and somewhat boring to you. But if you can relate to them, you will feel seen and understood, and there is a chance you will discover certain things about the person that you are. So to me, the best quality of this book lies within the arc of its very main character above all else. And as such, I will qualify this book as character driven, although it might be the setting and the plot that will bring the majority of the audience to it and ultimately lead to their disappointment. Which is why I believe as of right now this is the lowest rated Sanderson book, currently sitting at 3.82 stars on Goodreads, which is approximately what I gave it and which is in no way, shape or form a low rating. Overall, when I look back on my reading experience, I do enjoy it, and there are some things about this book that I wish were developed better, and I think this book will do better as part of a series rather than as a standalone, because there was not a lot of closure and conclusion, not to the plot lines, but rather to world building parts that were brought to our attention. And not for anything else, but because it makes a lot of the things about this book look unfinished. So, should you read this book? Yeah, I think you should. I think it's a good book, but don't expect too much. Don't pick it up as the first book you read by Brandon Sanderson because it's a standalone and it's not in the Cosmere. I think you will be disappointed and you will think that the hype around this author is undeserved. To me, this was a great book. I enjoyed reading it very much because it had a special impact on me because of specific things related to the things that I've been through. And there is no guarantee in life you're gonna like anything anyway. And that concludes my review of The Frugal Wizard. This concludes my review of The Frugal Wizard. This concludes my review of The Frugal Wizard. This concludes my review of The Frugal Wizard. The end.